let's talk about money. It's something we all have to deal with, right? And for so many of us, it's just this huge source of stress. So let's get into it. Why is money so darn hard? You know that feeling, right? That little voice in the back of your head that says, you're just not doing money right. It's such a common feeling. So what's really going on here? Why do so many of us feel like we're failing at money? Well, to really get to the bottom of this, you have to appreciate just how important it is. I love this quote from the motivational speaker Zig Ziglar. He said, money isn't everything, but it ranks up there with air and oxygen. And he's not wrong, is he? It touches literally every part of our lives, which is exactly why the stress can feel so completely overwhelming. But here's the thing, and this is really important. The answer isn't just in your wallet. It's not just about that latte you bought this morning. No, it's a way bigger story. It's woven into our culture, into the very DNA of Wall Street, and deep inside our own minds. So let's break it all down. All right, first up, let's talk about the personal side of things. The part we all know a little too well. That constant mental battle, with money just always on our minds. So if you're lying awake at night worrying about your finances, I want you to hear this loud and clear. You are so far from being alone. I mean, check this out. A staggering 75% of people feel that same anxiety. 75%. That's the vast majority. So yeah, the first thing to really get is that this is a shared experience. Okay, to really bring this home, let's look at some real people. We're going to pull from the stories of 4 different households that were featured in the Netflix documentary Get Smart with Money. And I'm willing to bet their goals and their struggles are going to sound pretty familiar to a lot of you. So first up, we have Ariana. Her big goal, get out of debt. But wow, is she facing a mountain? We're talking over $140,000 in student loans and credit card debt, and a lot of that is tied to emotional spending. And when you've got Lindsay, all she wants is to earn more money, but she's just grinding it out, working 2 jobs to get by, and her real dream, becoming a fashion designer, feels like it's on another planet. And look, the challenges come in all shapes and sizes. Take Tease Tabor. He was an NFL player, signed a $1.6 million contract, but after an injury, almost all of it was gone. And he had no backup plan. Then you have the flip side with Kim and John. They wanted to retire early, and their income shot up to $300,000 a year. But their spending shot up right along with it, trapping them in that classic cycle of lifestyle inflation. Okay, so those are the individual struggles, right? The personal battles we all fight. But what's feeding this? What's making it all so much harder? Well, for that, we have to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. Specifically, the influence of affluence and this massive cultural shift that's happened. There's this quote from the social critic Chris Hedges, and you can find it in Lauren Greenfield's incredible documentary, Generation Wealth. It just nails the shift we've seen. He says, people don't dream in modest terms anymore. They all want to live in Mar-a-Lago. And that's really it, isn't it? The American dream isn't about a cozy little house with a white picket fence anymore. It's been completely supersized. So what's the engine behind this massive dream? Well, a big part of it is a very deliberate strategy. It's called insecurity marketing. The author Naomi Wolf breaks it down perfectly. The whole goal is to keep you in this state of feeling, well, inadequate, insecure. Because when you feel that way, you're way more likely to buy stuff to try and fix the problem. I mean, think about it. We have fundamentally shifted away from a culture that used to value things like thrift and modesty. The photographer Lauren Greenfield, who I mentioned earlier, has spent 25 years documenting this. And what she's found is that our society now celebrates, well, bling, celebrity, and narcissism. It creates this insane pressure to look rich, even if you're not. Okay, so we've got our own personal psychology, right? And we've got this massive cultural pressure. But that's not the whole story. There is a third, absolutely massive piece to this puzzle. And for that, we have to go inside the money machine itself and look at the systemic changes that completely rewired our financial world.
And this change, it didn't happen overnight, not at all. As the documentary Inside Job lays out so clearly, this was a 30-year process. It really kicked off in the 1980s with financial deregulation. Basically, all these rules and safeguards that kept the banking system stable started getting dismantled, piece by piece. The walls that separated your normal safe savings from risky speculative investments, they got torn down. And that created a ticking time bomb that, as we all know, went off in 2008.
The core engine of that whole crisis was something called the securitization food chain. Sounds complicated, but here's the basic idea. Banks would take your mortgage, right? Then they'd bundle it up with thousands of other mortgages and sell that package off to big investors.
All of a sudden, your home loan wasn't just your loan anymore. It was basically a poker chip in a giant global casino where trillions of dollars were being bet.
So what was the real-world effect of that? Well, think about it this way. In the old system, your local bank gave you a loan, and they really cared if you could pay it back. Why? Because it was their money on the line. But in this new system, the bank that gave you the loan turned around and sold it almost instantly. They had zero skin in the game anymore, so their only incentive was to make as many loans as possible. Good, bad, it didn't matter. And that, of course, led to a boom in just plain reckless lending and this giant mountain of toxic debt.
Okay, I know that is a lot to take in. You've got your own habits, you've got cultural pressure, and you've got this super complex financial system. It's easy to feel completely overwhelmed. So, what do? How do you even begin to navigate all this? Well, that brings us to our final part, closing the advice gap and finding your own compass in this crazy world.
With all that going on, is it any surprise that a quarter of Americans worry about money all the time? Of course not. There's this huge gap in what we know about finance. Just look at these numbers. 90% of adults in the UK don't have a stocks and shares ISA, which is a key tool for building wealth. And 75% don't even know how much is in their own pension. That anxiety we feel, it's a direct result of being dropped into a system we were never ever taught how to navigate. And hey, if you've ever looked at your retirement plan and just felt totally confused, or even like you're being ripped off, you're probably not wrong. There was a PBS documentary called The Retirement Gamble, and what they found was that high hidden fees are everywhere. The investment choices are often pretty terrible, and a lot of the time, the system is set up to make more money for the brokers than it does for you, the person actually saving. So, given all that, how do you fight back? You can't change the whole system overnight, but you can build your own financial playbook. Let's get into the practical stuff. Let's talk about how you take back control. All right, pulling from the awesome advice in Get Smart with Money, it really boils down to 5 core pillars for a solid financial foundation. Step 1, budgeting. Simple, right? You just have to know where your money is going. Step 2, saving. You need to build that safety net. 3, manage your credit and debt so that it's not managing you. 4 is all about learning to earn, looking for ways to bring in more income. And finally, the big one, step 5, invest. That's how you make your money start working for you. Okay, so that's the framework. Now let's talk about some key behaviors to adopt. First, you have to play the long game. Patience is everything. Second, automate the good stuff. Set up automatic transfers for savings and investments so you don't have to rely on willpower. Third, get a handle on the big 3 expenses. That's your housing, your food, and your transportation. And finally, never ever forget this one. An investment in knowledge pays the best interest. Learning the stuff is the best money you'll ever spend. So, let's circle back to the beginning. Why is money so hard? Well, because it's coming at us from all sides, right? It's personal, it's cultural, and it's systemic. But the way you start to win, the way you take back control, is through education and a real shift in what you're aiming for. And on that note, I want to leave you with this incredibly powerful thought. It's from a former hedge fund manager, a guy who had it all and then lost it. He said, "All of us are following a dream, a toxic dream. It's not going to fulfill us. It isn't as important as relationships, as love." It really makes you think, doesn't it? What's the dream you're actually chasing?